It was on this spot in April 2007 that our friend Luisa Posa Dominado and her companion Nilo Arado were abducted by armed men. Their driver, human rights worker Liboy Garachico, was left for dead, a bullet in his neck. We were shocked by the news of our friend Luing's disappearance and decided to take up our camera to look for her and to try to make sense of what happened to the people power revolution in the Philippines that so inspired us over 20 years ago.
One of your older films. I think it was in the 70s. I don't know if it's your film, but I was able to see it, and I think I saw my mom was there. Yeah.
Was it called Kababaihan, Filipina Portraits?
I think it was Kababaihan, about the Filipina activists during the martial law period. And we couldn't recognize her at first because she was really, I think she was in her late 20s, but she looks really young, like a teenager.
You were also there at the time, I think.
Because my mom looked really young there.
Well, she looks, and you look like her, actually. Don't you find? Yes. I find you look like her. As soon as I saw you, I saw the news report on television when you were interviewed there. I said, "Oh, you look like your mom."
Where do you start to look for someone who's disappeared without a trace? We decided to call on the police chief in charge of investigating our friend Luing's disappearance.
And we're just making a documentary, and we were interested in the case of the disappearance of Maria Luisa Posa Dominado because we met her back in the 80s when we were first making one of our first films here during the time of Marcos. And so when we learned in April this year that she disappeared, it was a shock because she became a friend to us over the years.
Maria Luisa Posa was detained in this place. I do not know where's the building. If we
sa gate. Sa gate.
Can we
Can we go there to film just for historical purposes?
with your permission?
That used to be the jail where my mom was last detained. So this was one room, this whole thing. But I think it's now divided into rooms, but before this was one whole room. And we stayed there, only the two of us. The other prisoner, because she was the only woman prisoner.
It's now been 10 long months and still no news of our friend Luing. She survived years in the underground, years in the jails of the Marcos dictatorship, escaping 3 times and surviving, only to be abducted and now possibly murdered, probably with military involvement, while working openly in an election campaign. Perhaps we can find some answers by looking back over our 20 years involvement in the Philippines. We're researching a new film, looking back over our 20 years of involvement in the Philippines.
I have that film still.
Yeah, you still have, eh?
Yes,
Yeah. That when I was here with Stephen, no choice but change, right?
Yeah, no choice
Philippines,
but
no
change.
choice but
Yeah,
change.
yeah,
So that was my first time to come. I had been involved in the solidarity work, both of us, but that was the first time we came, right? And we met you, and anyway, so here we are 20 years later, still going, and you're still going, right?
The situation is still the same. The situation of poverty, the situation of oppression, and the situation of resistance. I think if you want to be fair and correct in explaining Philippine society, the situation of the Philippine society is there is massive poverty, there is a going repression, but there is also an active resistance. I think if you integrate yourself to the life of the people, you are not deceived by the artificial claim of progress by those who took power. Because you see in the real situation, what all these changes have brought to the life of the people. Nothing have changed. That's why you are not led astray. And meanwhile, you will realize that your experience, especially your experiences of disappointment, is so little compared to the sum of experience of the masses. So that should humble you, no? That should humble you and make you continue, no?
Oy, Ver! This is Virgilio, one of the local leaders of Urban Poor Organization. Si Marie, si Ariel, si Malcolm, si Mike. No, Raja. Hindi kami maliko, ha? Oy.
We ourselves might not see the end of the day or the light of the day, but the generation to come will see that. For us, it's already a source of satisfaction, a source of joy, that we are part of a history of a people struggling for national freedom and democracy. Okay.
Yeah. We'll try not to wait for another 20 years before we do it again, okay?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
My father was abducted this year. My father's name is Leo Velasco, and he is a consultant of the National Democratic Front of the Philippines in the peace talks between the government of the Republic of the Philippines. He was abducted at that time on 10 o'clock in the morning, so it was broad daylight in Cagayan de Oro City. He was walking towards a street, and then two men came down from an L300 van and picked him up. And when he struggled, more men came down from that van to pick him up and threw him inside the van.
Ngayon, ako nakikinabang.
So that was the last time that anybody saw him. And then now we're still looking for him. I was close to my father. Actually, with both of my parents, but I consider my father as my friend before, because he was open-minded. I guess because he was a revolutionary. His mind and his opinions and he's open to a lot of ideas. So he doesn't usually talk to me as a parent, but also as a comrade and a friend and person.
Pakita natin sa mga tao ngayon na nandito. At ipakita natin sa buong mundo na lalaban tayong lahat. Nakikiusap po ako sa mga kaanak ng mga nawala na pumunta tayo sa harap ngayon. Magkapit bisig at ipakita natin ang paglaban.
As we realized, a lot of us realized that there's no point on not speaking and be silent. We have to fight for our loved ones. Yes, and we have to say that we're proud of them, and we have to say that these people are missing, and we are looking for them, and the government is supposed to be responsible for these people, but they're not.
Bilanggo sa tahanan at siniilang lakas, kinubli sa sumpa ng lipunang marahas, tinuring na marupok at walang kakayahang harapin ang unos ng buhay.
Just after our arrival back in Montreal, we received an urgent call from Lorena, from the Philippines. Now it was her mother, who had just been abducted.
Nagbibigay ng buhay. Tayo na, mga kasama, Magsurit palayain ang kaisipan. Ngayon na ang panahon ng pagbabalik-uwas, pagsulong ng kababaihan. Di lubos ang kalayaan kung di ka malaya, kapos ang kasaysayan kung di ka kasama.